Hello, my dear partners and clients. My name is Olga Victoria, and I'm USA consultant of BioMedis company. BioMedis company develops and produces technologies for wellness for more than 15 years. I am happy to welcome you to this presentation and glad that you have a desire to change your life. Today I will talk about device Zenwave, which has two technologies, Bioland and Zenlight. They can be used separately or together to multiply the effect. In this presentation, I will talk about Bioland technology, how can you benefit from it, and why is it different from any other simple Schumann generators. In 2005, company launched its big research and developed technologies related to human consciousness, power of thoughts, and the impact of electromagnetic fields and various areas of the human brain. Many scientists, researchers, doctors, practitioners put their work into this revolutionary device. Bioland is a miniature copy of the Earth. It creates natural source of biorhythms, protects us from electromagnetic radiation, harmonizes brain, regulates immune system, and hormones production. Did you know that if our planet Earth be slightly different, for example a little different size, then the human brain would also be different? The planet Earth constantly emits a certain natural frequency, or sound. This sound was before the dinosaurs, with dinosaurs, mammoths and primitive people, and measure in 7.83 Hz. The basic rhythm is very important for our brain because the human brain was developed under its constant influence. The basic rhythm called Schumann frequency or Schumann wave. The rhythm of the Earth or Schumann frequency exactly coincides with the main rhythm of our brain, the alpha rhythm. We do not hear the sound of the Earth with ordinary hearing, but our brain needs to hear the basic rhythm of the Earth for physical and psychological health. Any deviation from the resonance between brain and planet is perceived by us on an unconscious level, and this leads to incorrect functioning of the body and diseases. Today, harmful radiation from electronics and radio equipment, communications and power lines creates interference in the brain. The power of electromagnetic smoke is 200,000 times higher than the Earth's natural electromagnetic field, and you cannot hide from this noise even in the most remote corners of the planet. Electromagnetic smoke prevents our brain from picking up the basic rhythm of the Earth. The brain is forced to constantly adapt, which leads to failures in the entire body. The brain loses its external support point for maintaining health. The role of ionosphere is very important for our planet. Our atmosphere is the mixture of various gases, oxygen and nitrogen. Under the influence of radiation that come from the sun, these gases break down into ions and electrons, forming an ionized gas. An ionized gas is a great conductor of electricity. This electrically conductive and ionized layer of the atmosphere is positively charged, and the surface of the Earth with its salty waters of seas and oceans are negatively charged. The result is that our system has two concentric, oppositely charged balls, or as they call them in physics, ball capacitors. The Earth capacitor is never completely discharged, since the ionosphere is constantly recharged by the particles of the solar wind. In fact, the ionosphere is an internal generator and accumulator of electricity. So the ionosphere and the Earth's surface are conducting bodies, and any conducting bodies reflect electromagnetic waves of certain ranges, passes waves of another ranges, and in certain ranges absorbs them. In other words, electromagnetic waves propagate differently. Many frequencies appear on the surface of the Earth. The main sources of the Earth's electromagnetic field are thunderstorms and lightnings arising between clouds and the Earth. Thunderstorms activity is always present. It is especially strong when the climate is hot and humid because of plenty ascending and descending water flow in forms of evaporation, rain, and clouds. At the same time, about 2,000 thunderstorms on Earth, and every second there are 50 to 300 lightnings. On average, about 200 lightnings per second, or about 12,000 lightnings per hour. Can you imagine the power? Lightning is the source of a powerful electromagnetic pulse. This electromagnetic pulse contains the entire spectrum of possible radiation. If you set up the radio and listen to the sound of lightning, you hear a noise signal that looks like a hiss. If you close enough to a thunder or lightning, you can measure radiation in a wide range of frequency from 0 up to X-ray. This will include high and low frequency radiation, microwave frequency, optical radiation, and more. But due to the properties of the atmosphere, all these radiations are scattered, and the farther away from thunderstorm, the more they disperse in the atmosphere. The wave arising from lightning and thunder will be reflected under the influence of the sun to the earth and low boundary of the ionosphere, then propagates at the speed of light in different direction around the earth 8 times per second, fading the whole sound spectrum constantly. If the electromagnetic wave, after rounding the globe, again coincides with its own phase, then it enters into resonance, and so-called standing wave is formed. Even without additional fuel, it can exist for quite a long time. On the next slide, you can see typical spectrum of Schumann resonance. The Earth has basic frequency of 7.83 Hz plus number of additional resonant frequencies. The second Schumann harmonic is 14.1 Hz and the third one is 20.3 Hz, and so down to 50. These ultra-low frequency waves are escalated Schumann waves. Lighting generates powerful electromagnetic radiation in almost the entire frequency range. Receiving a constant energy pump from lighting, the ionosphere sound at all those frequencies. If you look at the spectrum of electromagnetic vibrations right now, you will see a signal with a maximum amplitude at a frequency of 50 Hz. 50 Hz is the frequency of electric current generators which appeared at the moment when humanity began to use electricity. Electromagnetic smoke prevents us from detecting the natural rhythm of the earth. The brain is forced to constantly adapt. The normal functioning of the body is disrupted. The brain loses its external support point for maintaining health. There are various Schumann generators on the market for a long time. You can see examples of them in the picture. Basically, all these generators emit a mono signal, creating an electromagnetic field with a frequency of 7.83 Hz. But our brain does not perceive a simple 7.83 Hz signal as natural, so the efficiency of all these generators is quite low. Spectrum of the signals generated by Bioland technology bring the model closer to real with natural characteristic of the external electromagnetic field. In order for the frequency of 7.83 Hz to be perceived by our brain, we have to use phenomenon called stochastic resonance. Stochastic resonance is the amplification of periodic signal under the influence of white noise. Stochastic resonance is inherent in many nonlinear systems that are under external influence. Let's look at the body as an example. The organism has a threshold of perception, and anything below this threshold the body will not perceive. But if the receiving party adds a little bit of its own noise, the total signal rises, and it turns out that we exceed the threshold level. And then there is an effect of transition from one state to another happens. Stochastic resonance can only occur if two conditions are met. First, the system must be not linear, And second, the system must have its own noise. Our body has nonlinear properties and its own noise, which is electromagnetic field that is generated by various cellular aggregations. If you put a measurement device to a person, you can immediately see the noise signal that our body generates. The spectrum of these signals is very wide. The stochastic resonance effect is chaos-chaos type. When external noise signal of low intensity impacts a living organism with its own noise field, then it becomes an initiator of bioinformational signals in biosystem. This process associated with the conversion of free energy in the cells, which leads to correction and restoration of physiological norms in the body. This effect is only in Bioland Technologies, and nobody has used such technology before BioMedis company. Let's look at the signal spectrum generated by Bioland Technology. In the left graph, you can see some kind of noise signal. If we scale the signal and detail it, like in the right graph, then you can see the signals in the range from 0 to above 300 Hz. The effect of Bioland on the body becomes similar to external natural influences. That is why Bioland radiation is perceived by our brain as native and supports our biorhythms and hormonal system. That is why electromagnetic pollution is no longer harmful for us if we use Zenwave device in Bioland mode. How does the Bioland technology affect the body? It eliminates the consequences of harmful effects of artificial electromagnetic radiations and fields. It restores biological rhythms, which is especially important for sleep disorders and stress. It improves carbohydrate metabolism, which is very important for people who are prone to diabetes and overweight. It is useful for weight loss. It activates melatonin production by synchronizing epiphyses, which stops excessive cortisol secretion known as excess weight cause. It helps with stress, depression, chronic fatigue, and weather dependence. It increases the immune response, cellular and metabolic. It slows down atherosclerosis, activates neuroprotective responses in the brain, reduces the development of certain tumors, lowers triglyceride levels, enhances your dreams, captures free radicals, promotes DNA repair and replication. This is how the basic rhythm of the earth works, and all you need to do is just to turn the Bioland mode for a few hours every day. There are no analogs of this device in the world. How to use Bioland mode? It is very simple. Plug your device in the socket, turn on the Bioland mode and continue to do any of your business. The effective radius of application is up to 10 meters. It will go through the walls of the rooms if they are not made of metal. So even if the device is located in the next room, but the distance is no more than 10 meters, you will be under the effective and useful influences of Bioland technologies. It is recommended to apply Bioland mode no more than 8 hours a day, because if this is imitation of Earth rhythm, then the effect is similar. It greatly affects our biorhythms. The best time to use Bioland is morning, noon, and afternoon. It is undesirable to use this mode just before bedtime or 1 hour before bedtime. You shouldn't use these modes during sleep. What will happen if you use Bioland at night? Bioland reproduces natural rhythms of the earth in the natural environment. The amplitude of the Schumann frequencies decreases at night. That's why company gave recommendation not to use Bioland at night in order to accurately simulate the natural effect. But if we take into consideration that at night all artificial electromagnetic background is still active, then our body does not receive the right portion of the earth vibrations, even with a smaller amplitude. For many people, even at night, Bioland frequency can be useful, especially if you live in big cities. Many users confirm positive results from using Bioland at night. If you decide to use Bioland at night, then set it farther away from the bed and monitor your health for 1 to 2 weeks. Then decide for yourself whether nighttime exposure to Bioland is suitable for your body. There are always questions about operation modes in the device Zenwave. Let's look at them. There are two technologies in the device, Bioland and Zenlight. To put Bioland technology on, put the mode 5. There are also modes 2 and 4 when two technologies, Bioland and Zenlight, work simultaneously. Bioland technology works the same in all these modes, 2, 4, and 5. Just in the second and fourth mode, the LEDs are lit. When you use two technologies at the same time, it will increase the effect of Zenlight technologies, about which we will talk in another presentation. Good news for users of our other devices like TRINITY, BIOMEDIS M, and ACTIWAY. The biologically adaptive effect of electromagnetic field with frequency 7.83 Hz make our brain and body more sensitive to the effect of bioresonance frequencies. The body becomes more harmoniously tuned with more open subconscious and perceptions for attunement to biologically active frequencies. In other words, if we turn on Bioland technology before or during exposure to bioresonance technology in the form of TRINITY, BIOMEDIS M, or ACTIWAY devices, then the impact of the devices will be more effective and productive. This completes my presentation about Bioland technology. There are more video presentations about BioMedis company technologies on my YouTube channel. Please visit my channel BioMedis USA or my website biomedis.us. If you already have your device and your sponsor, call them directly or visit BioMedis company website biomedis.life. Thank you for your attention and interest in BioMedis company technologies.